Welcome to Brain Bursts, an academic HIIT workout. HIIT stands for high intensity interval training, which is a principle that we normally apply to fitness, but it can also be applied to studying for STEM classes in college. And I'm going to explain why. So, why? Short, quick bursts of focus are much more productive and efficient than long study sessions. Spacing out your study sessions, just like weight training or cardio, is really good for your mind muscles, just like spacing out workouts is good for your actual muscles. And this allows us to study smarter, not harder. Question of when should we use HIIT? It's not when we're first learning something. When we're first learning something, it can really help to have a couple of dedicated hours to go slowly through things and really try to understand, close the book and watch a video on the subject, or, maybe we're attending a lecture and it's a couple of hours long. We use HIIT when we're practicing. So this includes recall practice, like when we're trying to memorize stuff for biology, let's say, and we're using flashcards, practice problems for chemistry, math, or physics, and reviewing any notes or concepts. So question, how long does our attention span last? Well, this is really different for every person. Some people have a longer attention span for certain topics, some people have a shorter one. It depends on a lot of things, and one thing it often is really dependent on is how interested you are in doing the task. But generally speaking, science tells us that the average human attention span is about 25 minutes. And the reason I have a tomato on this slide is because I'm going to teach you about something called the Pomodoro method, which means tomato in Italian. And this was developed by somebody who used a timer that was shaped like a tomato. So that's why we call it the Pomodoro method. So how do we do it? We pick a task. Let's say it's chemistry practice problems because we have a test in a few days. We're going to silence all our notifications. This includes your phone, which should go into your bag. It shouldn't be on the table or in your line of sight at all. Uh, it should include any notifications on any devices you might be using for this task. So make things full screen so that you can't see the little red dots on your dashboard that mean messages are coming in, that kind of thing. You can tell people in your life that you're not going to get back to them for 20 minutes or 25 minutes if you need to, if they need to get in touch with you. But it's really important to silence your notifications because we don't like to have the focus be broken at all. That can really, really detract from the task. Then we're going to turn on a timer for 25 minutes. If you want a Pomodoro timer that's already made for you, we have a description in the description box. We have a link to a YouTube video that will give you 4 Pomodoros in a row, so 25 minutes with your 5-minute break. But it's you can use your phone as well, even if it's away in your bag. You'll still hear it go off, especially if you're wearing headphones. Then you're going to work with as much focus as possible, again, distraction free, for 25 minutes. And then you're going to take that 5-minute break when the timer goes off. And then you can stop studying after that. Maybe you're done. You only had half an hour, but maybe you have more time than that. So you can repeat for up to 2 whole hours, which is 4 Pomodoros. After that, we really suggest that you take at least a half-hour break before going into more studying or doing this again. So spaced learning is the other really important principle here with high intensity interval training, which means we're spacing out our learning sessions. And an enormous amount of research has shown that spacing out your learning sessions will lead to much, much higher retention. So you'll remember more stuff when you're tested on it. This means we can spend less time studying and get a better grade on exams. So for instance, let's say you are trying to cram for your chemistry test tomorrow and you have 6 hours and you're going to spend all of it doing practice problems. That's not a very effective way to study because we're not able to space out those practice sessions and our brain is going to kind of peter out after that attention span is up and we don't take a break. So even if you Pomodoroed this for 6 hours in a row or even spaced out over 6 hours in a day, you're probably not going to retain as much. Whereas if you have a 1 week before that test, you have 7 days and you spend half an hour doing those practice problems for chemistry each of those days, you're probably going to get a lot more out of that and do much better on the exam than you would if you spent almost twice that amount of time, so 6 hours instead of 3.5 hours in one effort or one day. However, it requires some consistency and planning, so we can't cram, which is not great for retention anyway. And in college, it's actually important to continue retaining the information even after we've taken an exam or finished a class, because generally speaking, in college, we're learning how to do stuff that we're going to need to know for the rest of our lives because you're going to have a career where this is preparing you for that. So we need to really understand how to keep this in our brains. So, rules for space learning. Number one, work in short, scheduled bursts. This is why I introduced the Pomodoro method. Work on recall practice. So, flashcards are great. Taking a practice test, doing practice problems, or having someone else quiz you, all of those are really helpful. This means that we're not just reading back our notes. That's not a helpful study strategy. Daily training. So, spacing out the study sessions to do it every day. Every other day is okay. If you really don't have time in one day, skipping a day, okay, that's fine. You'll have to work a little harder the next day to remember this stuff, but that's good for your brain too. Working in a distraction free environment. So, like I said, we're silencing those notifications. We're making sure we're in a place where just the environment's not going to distract us for another reason, and we're putting our phones away, etc. And then silencing our notifications, even during breaks, if you're working for a longer time, especially if you're going to work on the same tasks. Like if you're going to do 3 Pomodoros of chemistry problems, for instance, it can be really helpful to silence our notifications and not even look at them during breaks, just because we want to keep the focus solely on chemistry. Now, if you're changing tasks every half an hour, maybe looking at the phone is not going to be as much of an issue because you need to break your focus anyway to then go in and focus on something else. So, short scheduled bursts. This is about studying for half an hour at a time. So, this is again going to fit really well with the Pomodoro method, which is 25 minutes plus 5 minutes. So, you can do more than 1 half-hour segment for the same topic in a row with that 5 minute break, but no more than 2 hours at once. And you can put these in your calendar in advance. Now, you can also change tasks every half hour. Some folks like to do maybe an hour of chemistry problems and an hour of calculus problems. And if you're going to do that, you have two choices. Number one, you can do 2 sets of chemistry or math and then switch to the other for 1 hour at each. Or if you really like to break things up because you're not that much of a, calc fan or something, that's okay. You can do chemistry, calculus, or chemistry, calculus, chemistry, whatever you want to do, or do 4 different tasks, half an hour each. Whatever it is, you can break this up however you want or need. But try to choose just one topic or task for each segment. So these should be along the lines of practice problem set, maybe reading a textbook chapter, working on an assignment, or studying for a specific quiz or test. Now, depending on the task, this may mean you're doing more than one Pomodoro of a different thing. So, for instance, reading a textbook chapter might take more than half an hour. And that's something that you kind of want to do in one big chunk. And so that might mean you do 2 full hours of reading that textbook chapter, but you're taking those 5 minute breaks to just kind of give yourself a reset. So, recall practice. How do we remember things? We remember them by actively attempting to remember them, not by passively reading notes. And what this does is it's going to build up myelin, which is a fatty tissue around your synapses in your brain. This is a scientific thing that happens when we study and we do recall practice. So, you can use an app like Anki or Quizlet. The links to both are going to be in the description box, or you can make note cards, like flashcards, on an actual piece of paper to remember important definitions or rules or equations. Daily training. So we're going to come back to each topic daily if possible. So the more regular, short intervals you do for each topic, the stronger those neural pathways will get and the more myelin will build up around them. So even if you just do 10 minutes of reviewing for each class every day, you're going to see amazing gains like by the time the test comes around in a few weeks. So that's really helpful. Also, one thing that some people like to do is, again, this is a personal thing, but if you need to do, let's say, an extra hour of chemistry practice problems every day, some people like to do that all at once, maybe broken up by a 5 minute break. But some people like to space that out even more by doing half an hour in the morning and half an hour in the evening. So if that's something that also suits you, go ahead and schedule that. Now, a distraction-free environment is very important. So think about the noise level in the locations you work best. It might be completely silent, there might be ambient noise. Some people say they like to have like lo-fi beats in their headphones or study to other types of music. Sometimes for different tasks, like for different classes, the environment you work in might need to be different. So when you're first learning something, a lot of people like to have total silence so they can really focus. And, maybe they're just doing some active recall practice on Quizlet or something, and they're literally standing in line at Starbucks on their phones doing 5 minutes of practice. And it's fine if there's ambient noise. They don't need to focus that hard. They're just trying to pull something out of their brain that's already in there. So take a tour of campus by yourself or with others and walk around in big buildings and look for places that might be good study spots for you. So consider your ideal environment or environments when you're doing this. Think about lighting. Some people really don't like fluorescent light. They really like to be next to a window. The temperature, so if it's really cold in that room or too warm, you might want to dress appropriately, bring a sweater or wear layers. Are there outlets available for you to plug in a device charger if necessary? That's very important. Um, is the chair comfortable? All those things are important. Silence your notifications. Again, really, really important to do this. So I've already been over this, but for every half-hour segment of studying or working, you will want to give that brain a 5-minute break. So yes, you should be working for about 25 minutes, but if you need to work longer because you're really in the zone and you don't want to break that focus, or you just cannot focus for 25 minutes, that's fine. You can adjust. And yes, you should set a timer. Figure out your ideal time and then set timers for that amount of time. If you plan to continue working on a task with deep focus, do not spend that 5-minute break looking at your phone because that's going to break your concentration. I already mentioned this, but some strategies for ways to avoid looking at your phone for those 5 minutes: get a snack or some water, use the bathroom, walk around the room. You can sit there and stare into space. It does not matter. Your brain just needs to breathe. And that's all. So thank you so much for watching. If you have questions, you can email cnmsadvising@umbc.edu or follow us on Instagram @cnmsadvising. And we hope to see you soon at another event.